So for those who haven't met me, I'm Blake Schwank with Colorado Computer Support. And one of the things I've been wanting to do with this is get better communication with our clients, provide, we get asked a lot of the questions the same time, the same question multiple times. Last week, or a couple weeks ago, sat down with Terry and Carla from Habitat for Humanity and talked about AI and policies and what are the policies that you should have in place in your company to make sure that you're protected. And so then it just seemed like a good time to kick this off. It was an interesting topic, and one that people might actually show up for. So we decided to go ahead and do this and kick this off. And so I mentioned the topics in the email. It's just a high level overview because we could talk about this for hours. Is there anything particular that someone wants to talk about, or something that's been in the back of their minds for questions on AI, or what you can do with AI in your business?
I guess my only question is, we have a couple of younger people on the management team that seem to want to use AI to write things. Which just sounds like garble speech and is never very organized. So, I mean, is that just that generational thing of not wanting to do kind of the English? Or is it going to get to a capability point where it's actually something that you can use versus having to be rewritten by a person every time?
Okay, no, that's a great question on it. Yeah, we'll look at that because there's pros and cons to it, and part of the policies and stuff. And security of the network, that's a great one. Okay, anything else that you guys would maybe want to hit on?
I think we talked about this, Blake, and you're going to cover it, but policy around usage, when it's appropriate and when not.
And that's tied into both of those.
I don't think I've talked to you about this, but here at the hospital, obviously protecting patient data, I have kind of heard some doctors that are using AI and then maybe putting it in the chart. And of course, we're concerned with the HIPAA compliance with that. And then we've also used it. We used not Copilot with Microsoft, but we used another one. Of course, we were really careful not to use any PHI in there. But man, it was great for meetings. Like it listened to us, our entire meeting, and then it summed up our whole meeting, and we found it extremely useful. But we definitely have to have those BAAs and protecting our patients.
That's a great point. What tool did you use for recording your notes? Because I've not used it to record notes. I've been on Zoom meetings and Teams meetings where people have used it. What did you use, Christelle?
Let me look it up because I don't remember exactly what it was called. It was integrated with Teams, but it wasn't a Microsoft product. I'll look it up and I'll send it to you. It was amazing.
Okay.
Copilot, it started our meeting for us, and then it starts recording, and then it just starts summing up, and it takes all the things and says, well, Christelle says she's going to do this. It created tasks for us. It was really nice.
That sounds awesome for our management meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you can find it. Now, was it a in-person meeting or was it a Zoom or Teams meeting?
We did it over Teams.
Okay.
And then, everyone that talked, it says, Christelle said this, and then it created my task for me, summed up the whole meeting. This was discussed. I'll send it in the chat once I look it up.
Yeah, and I think you make a great point because you're talking EPHI, electronic protected health information. Other people have to deal with PII, right? So Merle is dealing with, possibly credit card numbers or personal information that they don't necessarily want out there. And so does Habitat. And so you want to be, that's part of the, I guess the first discussion is, if you just have some random tool off the internet recording your notes for you, and you start talking about you're at the hospital, you're talking about, Blake's irregular heartbeat, Blake Schwank's irregular heartbeat, that gets out there in the wild, and all of a sudden you have an incident that you have to report, right? So you want to make sure that the tools that you're using are compliant for healthcare, for HIPAA compliance, or for protecting personally identifiable information, or just never make sure you have a policy and you never mention people's names. So yeah, let's start off on that. So there are probably the two big players. There's a ton of AI out there. AI is in everything that we do. It's in your medical record system. It's in probably every software tool now that we use, but the ones that we're interacting with the most are probably Copilot and ChatGPT. There's other things like Google Bard that I know people are still working on. If you get out into resume writing, into writing specific documents, there are tools out there if you write a lot of specific documents that are really good. If you're into HR, there's more HR focused ones. But for most people, ChatGPT and Copilot are really good. And I'm going to share my screen because they're both there's a couple big differences when we start talking about the security of it. So right now I'm in, can you guys see my Copilot?
Yes.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. And so on my, hold on, I'm sorry. Let's see. Shared the wrong thing. Let me stop my share. You would think 4 years into the pandemic, we would know exactly how to share documents and be 100% every time we did it. Okay, so now you can see my Copilot, correct? So on Copilot, so Copilot is Microsoft 365's version of ChatGPT, of artificial intelligence, of AI. And the big difference that we notice about Copilot is that Copilot has a work and a web button here. Now, you can go out to Bing and use, without the subscription, you can go out to Bing and use Copilot, but it doesn't tie into your work. With this subscription, which I think is currently $300 a year, it actually ties into your work and your work security. Whereas if I'm on the web, it's not going to have the security that we would normally have in our business. If we click on work, a couple of the differences here, you'll see my name up here, my username, my picture. It actually starts bringing up some files that I worked on, and it says Colorado Computer Support. If I go to the web, it doesn't list any of that, and so that's not protected. If I go over to work over here, it shows my files. It has all the permissions to documents that I normally have based on my permissions in Microsoft 365. Okay, so anything that I do here is met by the business associate agreement that you have with Microsoft 365, any of the security that you would expect with Microsoft 365, whether it's HR data or employee data, if it's financial data, all of that is protected when you have work set up for Copilot. Not the case when you're on web. Okay? If we go over to ChatGPT, it's even worse. So ChatGPT has no integration into your work. You can upload files, you can have a look at files, but it's not actually integrated into your work. So from a security standpoint, you don't want to put anything private, anything confidential, anything that is company proprietary in ChatGPT. Okay, from a security standpoint, does that make sense? Any questions on that? Okay. Oh, there's a chat. Fellow for meeting notes and summaries, Christelle?
Yeah.
Now, did you say that you have a business associate agreement with them?
We do not. So we just tested it for, I don't know how long they gave us, so a couple weeks.
Okay.
And then we were really careful not to mention anything PHI or confidential.
Okay. Yeah. So for those that are not part of the medical community, so with our hospitals and our medical clinics, if they have a piece of software that touches patient information, they have to have what's called a business associate agreement saying that the other company is going to protect the data. So, okay. So now did someone say something? So from a business standpoint, the nice thing from a usability standpoint, I'm going to switch back over to the difference between Copilot and ChatGPT is if I'm using, for the web, they're very similar, but if I want to work on work data, Copilot for work actually has files that it has access to your files within your OneDrive or your SharePoint. So that's where this is much cooler than ChatGPT. If I want to go ChatGPT, I have to go down here and click on the little paperclip, and then I can upload from a computer. Again, don't upload anything that has personally identifiable information in it. But if I go over here to Copilot, I can then say summarize and then choose a document. And this gets to all of the documents that I have in my OneDrive and SharePoint. The other thing that I can do is, I've not done this from here, but I can use it to create a PowerPoint presentation from, and this is going to be a test. I've not seen the latest functionality out of this, but and we can either do it from here or we can do it. So this is not creating that's not creating a PowerPoint, but if I go over here to if I go to Office and I go to Apps and I go to PowerPoint, I can go to create a new PowerPoint. And then within my new PowerPoint, I can click on Copilot. And again, this is the paid version of Copilot for Business. And I can type that in and then create a presentation from / and go to my files. And then I can go and find a file that I would like to create it on. So I can just do it on our webinar invite. It would be boring, but I've used it for proposals that we've written for different clients, different prospects, and I've also done it for just to create new slide decks, because it's really nice if you have to create slides that you don't have to go out and find images that match up. Oh, and here's our well, it didn't actually create my slides. They broke something on me, Daniel. All right, this worked perfect, and Terry can attest to this. It created slides last time I did this. So what that's done in the past is actually gone in and created the slides for me. So you didn't have to actually create the slides. I did this last week.
You have to refresh it, maybe.
I don't know, but I'm just gonna. So we recently did a proposal for Norwood Development Group, and with last week when I was chatting with Terry, I had this as a demo, and this is what it came up with. It created all the slides, all the graphics, so that I did not have to do it. So, all right, back to. So sorry about that failure there. So that's how the corporate, the Microsoft 365 version of Copilot compares to the free version or compares to ChatGPT. So better functionality and integration with your Office files, and then the security that you need with the corporate if you're going to allow your employees to access corporate documents with it. Okay. So now, speaking of employees creating documents with it, let's go back on Merle's question. So ChatGPT and Bing are great, and Copilot are great for creating documents, but you want a policy about how you're going to allow your employees to use it. So, and generally, there's, from the HR folks, there's 3 different levels of compliance with AI. Is there's either zero use of AI in your business, which unfortunately would stop your business because everything has some bit of AI built into it. Even when you go out to LinkedIn now, if you create a LinkedIn post, it asks you to rewrite the LinkedIn post. If you go out to, and so there's always going to be a little bit of AI. And then the other extreme is just complete unfettered use of AI. And we don't want that, because we want to make sure that people understand, your employees understand, that they have to proofread what the AI bot is coming up with. So probably the best use, not the best use, one of the first uses you can do on ChatGPT is writing these policies. A lot of the times we're asked from different clients, hey, can you send us whatever your policy is on that? They're just trying to build out their employee manual, and they don't want to go pay the HR attorneys all the money to build out their employee manual. That's one of the great uses of this, is do things like that and SOPs. So if I want to write if I want to go to ChatGPT, you know, I've got the paid version, and the latest one is 4.0, so it's pretty quick, and we can go in there and say, write me a AI policy for my health practice, and make it, you know, medium level of allowance. I don't know. My English isn't working too well today, guys, to figure out how exactly to ask this. That's the nice thing about ChatGPT and Copilot, is it will interpret to what you're trying to say. So that's pretty good. So if you do that, now it talks about, you know, this is why we can't rule it out, because it's built into some of these tools that we already use. But yeah, it's got to be HIPAA compliant. Any data must be anonymized or de-identified. So this is much easier than trying to go steal somebody else's policy or trying to write your own from scratch. But we do have to go through and read it to make sure that it makes sense. Okay. So you can have it write any of these kinds of policies and SOPs. So the other thing, Merle, on creating it. So you asked about going through proofreading because sometimes it sounds silly, but you could say, I own a catering company and I need an SOP for setup and tear down of a wedding, right? Now, this obviously is not going to meet 100% of Kathy's guidelines for the way she wants to do it, right? But it gets you 90, 70% of the way there, right?
Yeah, actually, that's kind of impressive.
So, but this is, that pretty good? Can we all start catering companies now, Merle?
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, sure. 14 weddings on a Saturday, no problem.
Yeah. Now, this, like you said, though, is you probably want to go back through and, you probably have a time frame on sending a thank you message, right? Or, how do you send it? Is it actually on a card or just an email? And so everything that you want to create using AI, you want to go through and proofread. Okay? Because if you go, let's say, write a thank you note for hiring us to do your catering at your graduation event. Okay, and yeah, we'll just do that because okay, so that's one thing, but let's say it's the AOG so now it's going to make it hopefully a little more formal, right? But you still, hey, it actually gets it in there that her adds in Vice President and Harris. I don't know if she went over there afterwards or not, but then you can cater it for different things and make informal or kindergarten graduation. Oh, wait. So it's not going to sound the way that you always want it to sound. And so you just want to make sure you read through it. Or you can even make it fun, remove Kamala and put in the voice of Dr. Seuss. So it's funny, but you can also want to make sure that your employees aren't going too far with it and being too silly. What do you think, Merle? Does that answer your questions?
Oh, yeah, it does. It's actually came out way better than I thought that it would, and now it makes me wonder what program that this particular individual is using that always makes it sound so idiotic.
Well, there's different levels. I'm not a fan of, well, I haven't been a fan of using Copilot with that they have built into the email. It doesn't sound like me. And let me go back to creating an email here. Sorry, I didn't want to open up all my email to all you guys. One of the other cool things while I get to this next thing is supposedly they're with Copilot, it's supposed to do a good job of summarizing your last weeks of email and stuff. I have not found the benefit of that, but that's one of the promises of it. So, but these things will all get better and change over time. Like, it being able to create a PowerPoint for me failed miserably, even though it worked last week. So when I go to create an email, I lost my. So when I go create an email, so if I'm going to send one to Merle and catering, and then I type in, go hit Copilot up here and draft with Copilot and say, send a meeting request about our company event. And I do normally type better than this. I'm just kind of typing quick, like, you really don't have to be that clear on AI. That's one of the benefits, but I am a bit picky on how people write. Yeah, that's not too bad. It's better than what it's done in the past. I've ended up with some bad stuff in the past, like you're saying, Merle. But a lot of times it's just not the tone that people know me for, and so I want to create it and then go back and edit it. But I can add things I'd like to change, saying it's for 100 people, and I don't know, but can't do that. But I can say make less formal. And that's probably a little bit too short for what I would like it to be if I'm going to email you about catering, right? So, but if somebody make it lighthearted and see what it says. So, Merle, just make sure that everybody proofs it, and that's in your policy, that it's their responsibility to proofread it before they send it out. Cancel that, otherwise you're going to call me.
Oh, and I think
what's that?
Well, and I think that's good advice, and I think too, knowing that it's not protected if they're just doing it out of their browser is a really good thing to know. How much is the Copilot? Is that $300 a year for the company or per person?
No, per person. But most people, I think that's what you would get for key people in the company. And then because most of your employees or people that are writing a lot of content, this really is a time saver on writing content. So, and you just have to review it. But if you have someone that is creating different letters or different marketing things for people, then you would want them maybe to have it. So maybe your catering director, maybe the leadership team, but not the other 30 people that have email addresses. So right now only a couple of people here have it. We want our text to write direct, detailed notes, not creating content necessarily, if that makes sense, when they're replying to a ticket. So, does that make sense? All right.
Yeah, that makes sense. I keep forgetting to hit my tap to speak.
All right, let's, time's going pretty quick. Let's go look at one of the things I mentioned, how we can use it that's industry specific. So one of the things that comes up is how do we, what all can it, AI is so huge, right? So it has so much information. Basically what it's done is it's crawled the internet for the last number of years, and it's taken all the history of the internet, gone through it, and digested it. And so that's a lot of information, but how can I use that information to run my business? So if I have a business that, I have a nonprofit that helps provide housing to, what is the market you provide housing to, Carla? I know what you guys do, but what is your community that you serve? What do you call it as a whole?
Workforce families in need of affordable housing.
Families in housing. How can ChatGPT help me run my business? There you go. The first three things we've already talked about. Wow. That's cool. So now, definitely if you're going to have it create social media content, you want to make sure it matches Habitat's information or what Habitat is trying to do. So creating job descriptions and recruiting is good. That's kind of cool. So then if we legal and compliance. So how can you help me review my policies? So one of the things that ChatGPT can do for you that I've used it for is comparing documents. So it said to check it for content. One of the things I've used it for, and you want to be careful to anonymize it because ChatGPT has leakage and they don't guarantee your data, is I've uploaded proposals or requests for proposals and my responses and said, hey, can you compare and contrast these to tell me what I'm missing? So that it, helps you on that. So, okay. Any questions on this? What's it do for? I'm picking on you, Merle.
Wait.
What's that?
Hold on. Sorry, I can't. I'm driving now, so I've gone from the house to the car.
No, you're okay.
No questions on that.
Okay.
It does do a lot more than I actually thought that it would or could reliably. So having that AI policy in place, I think, is definitely something that we need to look at for our management team.
Yeah, I would definitely start there, go to ChatGPT and say, hey, write me a medium level policy for using AI in the workplace. And it'll spit that out and then start playing with it. So, and one of the things is it's interesting. You just get in there and start playing with it. All right, let's talk a little bit of marketing now. So we can take, and if we want to write we could use it to say, write a blog post. So I own an MSP. Write a blog post about the dangers of answering Facebook 50-question friend post or friend quizzes, right? We all see those. There we go. And you know what those are? Those are the ones that ask you who your favorite friend was or your first pet. And so, you know, what used to have to go to your marketing team or somebody to write is now written for me, and all I have to go through is proofread it, and I can take this and then throw it on Facebook or throw it on a blog post or whatever. So, so that's one cool thing on marketing. Another interesting, fun thing to do on marketing is using it to create images. I showed you on PowerPoint how it can create the slides and the images that you want on PowerPoint. I always hate going out and searching Office for different images. So the image generator, so if I am doing a presentation on using, let's go back to Merle. Let's pick on her again. And so, you know, draw me a catering picture with 20 people at a wedding. And the photo generation or picture generation's got much better. It used to be everybody in these had 6 fingers. Now it seems like most of them have 5 fingers. And there we go. Now I don't have to go out and search something or steal something. I can now go right click on this and download it and use it in my next, I could use it in my blog or whatever, right? And, you know, sorry, Merle, you can't see it.
No, I can see it. I'm actually stopped now, so I got to look at it.
So,
you know, you work on the go, you figure it out.
So I've had a lot of fun doing this for different slide decks and different marketing slicks that we've done over the last couple years. But it'll draw just about anything. So, and then you can change it around a little bit. So, what I did there is I just said make it more casual. So all of a sudden nobody's in suits. Now everybody's in business casual and chilling out. So, all right. I think that's so we talked about sort of the gotchas, proofreading, making sure that you're worrying about security. What else would anybody like to look at? Have I missed anything, or anybody got anything that they've had that's interesting that we should share with other people? Nothing. Everybody's quiet. No chats.
I feel appropriately picked on, so I'm good.
So, yeah, get out there and just play with it. Give it a whirl. So, Russell, what's that?
Hey Blake, I find I do use ChatGPT sometime, and I find that the more you chat to it, like it's an assistant, for example, like a human, it will actually give you what you want. It might just take you a couple text with it, right? So if it produces a document for you or a letter for you, you can read it and tell it what part you like and what part you don't like, and it'll actually go back and make those changes. So the more you talk to it like it's actually a human, it actually will put sometimes feelings into it for you.
No, that's good. Let me, since we got some time here, let me show you one other thing that's cool. So my wife and I are going to, we're going to go do a Rhine cruise on Thursday. We fly out. So we're going over to Amsterdam, down to Basel, Switzerland. And we are going to spend a couple days in Amsterdam and staying in, we want to do a little bit of a walking tour. So if I can just go in here and say, I am very active and will be staying in Amsterdam near the, I think it's Dam Park. Let's see. Be a 8-hour walking tour, including a nice restaurant and a museum that is easy to book. There we go. Oh, it's taking me to the red light district. So it's kind of fun. Don't need AAA anymore. All right, we got one more chat. Okay. Anybody else got anything, or we can wrap this up? Any thoughts? Is this worthwhile to do this next month? And what should we talk about next month? Christelle, Carla, you pitched in a little bit. Thoughts for next month? Will you come again?
Yes, I might have something. You may have sparked something for me. So when you were in your OneDrive and using this for OneDrive, I started thinking, gosh, maybe some Microsoft help with when we're talking Microsoft and people creating Excel documents in Office, and may not be for all your other clients, but we have a few people doing stuff and then I lose all access in IT to those sorts of things. So how do we work that whole Office 365 and keep things controlled? That might be an interesting topic. Kind of broad, but
it is, and it's actually it's a tough one, because how do you keep things organized is not necessarily a Microsoft. I mean, once you set up the permissions and everything else, you give everybody folders. A lot of times that gets out of control over years. I mean, I've had the business for 23 years. My life's a disaster when it comes to where stuff is sitting, but there are some tools out there to help make that a little bit better. So yes, Carla, I know I loved all your recommendations. So I'll figure out what's the easiest for me to talk about at the beginning of July, and super appreciate everybody showing up. And if you think of other people that might need to be invited next time around, let me know, or we can, board them out. So, okay, everybody, thanks. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'll be back in a couple weeks, and this was a good start. I've been wanting to get this going, so thank you for being nice. So, and hopefully, Matt, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Blake. I appreciate it.
So, semi-useful?
Yeah, we use ChatGPT a lot. Copilot, that was interesting. We haven't touched that, so it gives me some stuff to talk about here, honestly. I mean, in marketing, I use ChatGPT,
Oh, yeah.
all the time. So.
And probably another half dozen pieces of different tools, right?
Yeah, Midjourney, Gemini, all sorts of stuff. But Copilot would be very helpful. So.
Yeah, because it's able to securely ingest all those other files. But I know our marketing guys use a half dozen different tools, but your average, Office user, probably ChatGPT and Copilot, I think, unless you think there's another good, just general Office user tool.
Nothing like Copilot, honestly. I mean, I didn't even realize Copilot could do PowerPoints and stuff, so.
Oh. Yeah, it's cool. I don't know why it didn't do it this time, but so I did it for some of our texts, because most Windows logs, most server logs are in 24-hour clock and UTC, which most people don't understand. So I wanted to do a quick presentation. I said, do me a presentation on the difference between the 12 and 24-hour clock, UTC versus Mountain Time. And it spun around for about 5 minutes and kicked out about 15 slides with the right pictures and the right explanations. It was pretty cool. So.
Thanks. Okay. Yeah, I'll let that talk to David and Alan about it. So.
Yeah, and you can get just one seat of it to go play around. So.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yep. All right. See you guys later. Have a great day, and see you at the next one.
Thank you.
Thanks, Blake.
Bye.